She was drowning in the noise. She stood near the dessert table, her dark brown skin glowing under the afternoon sun, her natural curls pulled back in an elegant bun. She wore a simple blue dress that her husband Brandon had criticized the moment she put it on that morning. "You couldn't have worn something more impressive?" he had said in the car. "My family spent a lot of money on this party." It was his father's retirement celebration, and everyone who mattered in their social circle was there. Business partners, family friends, cousin Simone had met only a handful of times. She smiled politely at them all, playing the role of the perfect wife. Brandon's mother approached her, lips pursed. "Simone, dear, have you gained weight? That dress looks a bit tight." Before Simone could respond, Brandon appeared beside her with Natalie, his co-worker. Natalie's hand lingered too long on his arm, her laugh too loud at his jokes. Simone had known about them for 6 months. Every text message, every hotel receipt, every lie. "There you are," Brandon said, his voice dripping with false affection. "We were just talking about the quarterly reports. Natalie here has been absolutely amazing at the office." "I'm sure she has," Simone said calmly. Brandon's jaw tightened at her tone. He hated when she didn't play along. "You know, Simone, not everyone can understand the complexity of real work. Some people are just content with their little hobbies." Simone worked as an accountant at a nonprofit. She had a degree and years of experience, but Brandon always made her career sound like a joke. "Yes, my little hobbies," Simone said, looking him directly in the eyes. "The ones that keep our actual finances straight while you play businessman." The smile dropped from his face. Natalie looked uncomfortable and excused herself. Brandon grabbed Simone's elbow, his fingers digging into her skin. "What did you just say to me?" His voice was low and dangerous. "I said what I said." Simone pulled her arm away. Her heart was racing, but something inside her had finally broken free. She was done being afraid. Brandon's face turned red. His family was watching now, conversations dying down around them. "You ungrateful, after everything I've given you, everything my family has done for you? Everything you've given me?" Simone's voice carried across the yard now. "You mean the lies? The cheating? The way you steal from your own father's company?" The gasp came from Brandon's father. But Brandon wasn't listening anymore. His hand came up fast, and before anyone could react, he hit her across the face. Simone's head snapped to the side. Pain exploded across her cheek. She tasted blood from her split lip. The entire party went silent. Someone screamed. Brandon's brother rushed forward and grabbed Brandon's arms. "Are you insane?" his brother shouted. Simone straightened slowly, touching her bleeding lip with her fingers. She looked at the blood and then at Brandon, who suddenly looked panicked, realizing what he had just done in front of everyone. "Simone, he started. "Check your phones," she said calmly, her voice steady despite the pain. She looked around at all the guests, at Brandon's parents, at his siblings and cousins and business partners. "All of you, check your phones right now." She had scheduled the emails to send at exactly 3:30. It was 3:32. Around the yard, phones started buzzing. One after another, a symphony of notifications. People pulled out their phones, confused. Then their faces changed. Or disgust. Brandon's father stared at his screen, his face going white. "What is this?" "That," Simone said, wiping blood from her chin, "is the truth. Every text message. Every bank statement showing how he's been stealing from the company. Every hotel receipt with Natalie. Every lie for the past 3 years." Brandon lunged for her phone, but his brother held him back. "You crazy, you had no right." "I had every right." Simone picked up her purse. "I'm pressing charges for assault. My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce." "And Brandon? I moved out 3 weeks ago. Everything I own is already gone. You just never noticed because you were too busy with Natalie." She turned to walk away, her legs shaking but her head high. Behind her, chaos erupted. Brandon's mother was crying. His father was shouting. Someone was calling the police. Natalie stood frozen near the pool, her own phone in her hand. Her husband was at this party too. He was staring at his phone, then at her, then at Brandon. The look on his face said everything. Simone walked through the gate to where her car was parked on the street. Her bags were already packed in the trunk, just in case. She had planned for this moment for 6 months. Every detail, every piece of evidence, every step of her escape. As she drove away, she saw police cars turning onto the street, heading toward the Anderson estate. She didn't look back. Her face hurt. Her hands were shaking. But for the first time in 3 years, she could breathe. She was finally free. 6 months earlier, Simone had been folding laundry when Brandon's other phone buzzed. The one he thought she didn't know about. She had found it 2 weeks prior, hidden in his gym bag. She knew his passcode because he used the same one for everything. His mother's birthday. The message was from Natalie, "Can't wait for tonight. Wear that cologne I like." Simone sat down on the bed, the phone in her hands. She should have felt shocked, devastated. But deep down she had known something was wrong for over a year. The late nights. The distance. The way he looked at her with something close to contempt. She could have confronted him right then. Could have screamed and cried and thrown his things out the window like in the movies. But Simone was smarter than that. She had watched her own mother make that mistake when she was 15. Her father had apologized, promised to change, and then did the same thing 6 months later. The cycle repeated until her mother had nothing left. No money, no evidence, no leverage. Simone was not going to be her mother. She took photos of every message. Then she carefully placed the phone back exactly where she found it. That night when Brandon came home at 11, smelling of perfume that wasn't hers, she smiled at him and asked about his day. "Exhausting," he lied. "Had to stay late for inventory." "That's too bad," she said. "I made your favorite dinner, but I can reheat it." He barely looked at her. "I already ate." Of course he did. The next morning, Simone called out sick from work. Instead, she drove to a private investigator's office on the other side of town. The investigator's name was Patricia, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "I need to know everything," Simone told her. "Every affair, every lie, every financial detail. And I need it documented in a way that will hold up legally." Patricia nodded. "This isn't my first time helping someone prepare for a divorce. Give me 2 months and I'll give you everything you need." Took 3 months, not 2. But what Patricia delivered was more than Simone had imagined. Brandon wasn't just having an affair with Natalie. There had been someone else 2 years ago, a woman from his gym. That affair had lasted 8 months before she moved to another state. The financial fraud was worse. Brandon had been skimming money from his father's company for over a year, hiding it in accounts under fake business names. He had opened credit cards in Simone's name without her knowledge, running up thousands in debt. He had a separate bank account where he deposited money that should have gone to their joint savings. Patricia also discovered that Brandon had been planning to divorce Simone himself, but only after transferring their assets into his name. He had consulted with a lawyer about it 3 months ago. He was going to leave her with nothing. "He's been setting you up to take the fall for his debts," Patricia explained, sliding documents across her desk. "If you had waited much longer, you would have been responsible for all of this." Simone felt sick. The man she had married 7 years ago, the man she had trusted and loved, had been systematically destroying her life. And he had been doing it with a smile on his face. "What do I do?" she asked. Patricia leaned forward. "You get a lawyer. You protect yourself. You document everything. And when the time is right, you make sure everyone knows the truth." Simone hired a lawyer that week. A tough woman named Angela who specialized in cases like this. Angela helped her open a new bank account that Brandon couldn't access. She helped her change passwords, secure her credit, and start transferring her personal belongings out of the house in small amounts so Brandon wouldn't notice. "We need to time this perfectly," Angela advised. "If he suspects you know, he'll move faster. We need to catch him off guard." For 3 more months, Simone played the role of the oblivious wife. She smiled at Brandon across the dinner table. She laughed at his jokes. She attended his family functions. All while she was quietly building her case piece by piece. She found a small apartment across town and paid the deposit in cash. She started moving her important documents: birth certificate, passport, jewelry that belonged to her grandmother. She moved her clothes out one bag at a time, leaving just enough in the closet that Brandon wouldn't notice. She set up a new email account and forwarded all the evidence there. Bank statements, text messages, photos, videos. Patricia had been thorough. Every hotel visit was documented with timestamps and photos. Every suspicious transaction was highlighted and explained. The hardest part was watching Brandon with Natalie. They were bold about it now, thinking Simone was too stupid to notice. At a company party, Simone watched them dance together, their bodies too close. Natalie's husband was there too, talking to other colleagues, completely unaware. Simone felt sorry for him. He would learn the truth soon enough. She also discovered that Brandon talked about her to Natalie. Patricia had managed to record some of their conversations. Hearing Brandon call her boring and useless to another woman cut deeper than she expected. But it also fueled her determination. He thought she was weak. He thought she would never leave. He thought he could do whatever he wanted without consequences. He was wrong. 2 weeks before the party, Simone moved the last of her things out. She told Brandon she was going to visit her sister for the weekend. Instead, she spent those 3 days making her new apartment feel like home. She bought new furniture, hung up pictures, and filled the refrigerator with food she actually liked. When she came back, Brandon barely acknowledged her return. He was too busy texting Natalie about their next meeting. Perfect. Simone sat down at her computer and began composing emails. One for every member of Brandon's family. One for his business partners. One for Natalie's husband. One for Brandon's boss. She attached all the evidence, carefully organized by category. Affair evidence. Financial fraud. The consultation with the divorce lawyer where he explicitly discussed hiding assets from her. She scheduled them all to send at 3:30 on the day of the retirement party. She wanted an audience when the truth came out. She wanted everyone who had ever looked down on her or dismissed her to see exactly who Brandon really was. She also filed paperwork to press charges for identity theft related to the credit cards. She filed a report with his father's company about the fraud. She made sure everything was ready to go the moment she gave the signal. All she had to do now was wait and survive one more party. The police arrived at the Anderson estate at 3:45. Simone was already 15 minutes away, heading toward her new apartment. Her phone was exploding with calls and messages, but she didn't look at any of them. She had turned off notifications from Brandon months ago. She did, however, receive a text from Angela, her lawyer. "Are you safe?" "Yes," Simone typed back while stopped at a red light. "I'm heading home now." "Good. Don't answer any calls from him or his family. Everything goes through me from now on. The police have your statement from the party. We'll file a restraining order first thing Monday morning." Simone pulled into the parking lot of her new building and sat in her car for a moment. Her face was swelling where Brandon had hit her. She would need to take photos for the evidence, maybe go to urgent care for documentation. But right now, she just needed to breathe. She grabbed her purse and went inside. Her apartment was on the 3rd floor, a one-bedroom with big windows that let in lots of light. Every piece of furniture, every decoration, every dish in the cabinet, she had chosen it all herself. She locked the door behind her, put her bag down, and walked to the bathroom. In the mirror, she looked at her reflection. Her lip was split and swollen. A bruise was already forming on her cheek. But her eyes were clear. For the first time in years, she recognized the woman looking back at her. Her phone rang. It was her sister, Monique. "Oh my God, are you okay?" Monique said the moment Simone answered. "I saw the emails. Girl, I'm on the next flight out there." "I'm okay," Simone said, and she meant it. "It's done. It's finally done." "Did he really hit you in front of everyone?" "Yes." Monique swore. "Good thing I wasn't there. I would have beaten him myself." "Are you pressing charges?" "Already done. I gave my statement to the police at the party. Angela is handling everything else." "Where are you now?" "My new apartment. The one I told you about." "Thank God you planned this out. Mom would be proud of you." Simone felt tears prick her eyes at the mention of their mother. She had passed away 2 years ago, but Simone knew she would have supported this decision. Her mother had always regretted staying with their father for so long. "I couldn't have done it without your help," Simone said. "The money you loaned me for the deposit." "Stop. That's what sisters are for. Besides, from the looks of those bank statements you sent, you're going to get a lot more than a deposit back in the divorce." Simone spent the next hour taking photos of her injuries and icing her face. She made herself tea and sat on her new couch, finally allowing herself to feel the emotions she had been holding back. Fear, relief, anger, freedom. Her phone continued to buzz. Most of the calls were from numbers she didn't recognize. But one call was from Brandon's mother, Dorothy. After a moment of hesitation, Simone answered. "Simone," Dorothy's voice was shaking. "I'm so sorry. I had no idea. If I had known." "It's not your fault," Simone said quietly. "He's my son and I raised him better than this. The things I saw on those documents, the way he spoke about you. I'm ashamed. Mrs. Anderson, please don't be polite to me right now. You have every right to hate all of us. We saw the signs and we looked the other way. He hit you, Simone, in front of everyone. And instead of stopping him sooner, we just made excuses for his behavior." Simone didn't know what to say. "I want you to know," Dorothy continued, "that we will support you in pressing charges. My husband has already contacted the police about the fraud. Brandon is going to face consequences for what he's done. Real consequences." Thank you, Simone whispered. After they hung up, Simone felt strangely empty. She had expected Brandon's family to defend him, to call her a liar, to try to protect their own. But Dorothy's apology had been genuine. Maybe some people could surprise you. The next morning, Simone went to urgent care. The doctor documented her injuries and gave her information about domestic violence resources. The nurse held her hand while she cried, telling her she was brave for leaving. That afternoon, Angela called with updates. Brandon was arrested last night for assault. He posted bail this morning, but there's a temporary restraining order in place. He can't contact you or come within 500 feet. We'll make it permanent at the hearing next week. What about the fraud? His father is cooperating fully with the police. They're building a case for embezzlement and identity theft. Between the assault charges and the fraud, he's looking at serious time. And Natalie? Angela laughed. Her husband filed for divorce this morning. Apparently, she's also facing consequences at work. Several people reported their affair to HR, and the company has a strict policy about relationships between managers and subordinates. She was his supervisor, so it's an even bigger violation. Simone should have felt happy about that. Instead, she just felt tired. She didn't care about Natalie anymore. That chapter of her life was over. Over the next few weeks, Simone settled into her new routine. She went back to work where her coworkers were supportive and kind. She started seeing a therapist to process the trauma of her marriage. Brandon tried to contact her anyway, creating new email addresses and social media accounts. Each message was the same, apologies mixed with blame. He was sorry, but she had provoked him. He loved her, but she was ruining his life. Simone forwarded every message to Angela and blocked every account. She refused to engage. There was nothing left to say. 6 weeks after the party, Simone attended Brandon's first court hearing for the assault. She sat in the courtroom, her sister beside her, and watched as Brandon's lawyer tried to argue that it was a momentary lapse in judgment, that Brandon was under stress, that he had never done anything like this before. Angela stood up and presented evidence that told a different story. Text messages where Brandon threatened Simone. Photos of bruises on her arms from other incidents that she had documented over the years. Testimony from neighbors who had heard him screaming at her. The judge wasn't sympathetic. He set a trial date and increased the restraining order to 1,000 feet. As Simone left the courthouse, she saw Natalie sitting in her car across the street. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Natalie looked like she wanted to say something, but Simone turned away and got into her sister's car. She had no interest in anything Natalie had to say. That woman had slept with her husband, had laughed at her behind her back, had helped Brandon betray their marriage. Simone owed her nothing. Not anger, not forgiveness, not even acknowledgement. That chapter was closed. 3 months after the party, Brandon's life had completely fallen apart. Simone knew this not because she was keeping tabs on him, but because the consequences of his actions were so public that she couldn't help but hear about it. He had been fired from his father's company after the fraud investigation revealed he had stolen over $200,000 over 18 months. His father had pressed charges, refusing to protect him anymore. The family business had a reputation to maintain, and Brandon had tarnished it. The assault case went to trial. Simone had to testify, which was one of the hardest things she had ever done. She sat in that witness box and described the years of emotional abuse, the gaslighting, the way Brandon had slowly isolated her from her friends and family. She described the moment he hit her, the shock and pain, the blood on her lips. Brandon's lawyer tried to make her seem vindictive, suggesting she had planned everything to ruin his life. Angela objected immediately. "Your Honor," Angela said firmly, "the defendant committed assault in front of 40 witnesses. My client's preparation for divorce doesn't change the fact that he hit her." The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty. Brandon received 6 months in jail for assault, with credit for time served and 2 years probation. The fraud charges were still pending, but his lawyer was trying to negotiate a plea deal. Either way, he was looking at more time. Simone felt nothing but relief when the verdict was read. She had been nervous he would get away with just a slap on the wrist. But justice for once had been served. Natalie's life wasn't going much better. Her husband had been granted full custody of their 2 children after it came out that she had been spending marital funds on hotel rooms and gifts for Brandon. She had been demoted at work and was now desperately trying to find a new job. No one in their industry wanted to hire someone with her reputation. Simone heard about this from Dorothy, who still called occasionally to check on her. The older woman seemed genuinely remorseful about everything that had happened. "I keep thinking about all the times I made excuses for him," Dorothy said during one of their calls. All the times I told you that you were being too sensitive or that you didn't understand how stressful his job was. I enabled him. I'm so sorry. You didn't know, Simone said, though she appreciated the apology. I should have known. A mother should know. They talked for a while longer before hanging up. Simone genuinely liked Dorothy, but she kept their relationship at a distance. She couldn't be close to Brandon's family, not when they would always remind her of that part of her life. Instead, Simone focused on rebuilding relationships she had neglected during her marriage. Her friend Taylor, who she had stopped talking to because Brandon said she was a bad influence. Her cousin Jerome, who Brandon had banned from their home after a disagreement about politics. Her college roommate Patricia, not the investigator, different Patricia, who had reached out multiple times over the years only to be ignored. Simone called each of them and apologized for disappearing. To her surprise and gratitude, they all understood. Girl, we knew something was wrong, Taylor said when they met for coffee. But every time we tried to talk to you about it, you defended him. We didn't want to push you away even more. I was so stupid, Simone said. No, you were abused. There's a difference. And look at you now, you got out. You protected yourself. You're free. That takes strength, not stupidity. Simone started going out more. She joined a book club. She took a painting class at the community center, something she had always wanted to try but Brandon had said was a waste of time. She discovered she loved it, the feel of the brush on canvas, the way colors blended together, the freedom to create something beautiful. Her therapist, Dr. Campbell, encouraged her to explore hobbies and interests that were just for her. You spent so many years making yourself smaller to fit into Brandon's life, Dr. Campbell said during one session. Now you get to figure out who Simone is when she's not trying to please someone else. It was strange at first. Simone had been with Brandon since she was 23 years old. She had spent her entire adult life as his wife. Now, at 30, she had to learn who she was as an individual. She learned that she liked spicy food, which Brandon had refused to eat. She learned that she preferred quiet nights reading to loud parties. She learned that she had opinions about politics and art and music that she had suppressed for years because they didn't match Brandon's. She also learned that she was stronger than she thought. Every day that she woke up in her own apartment, made her own choices, and didn't have to worry about Brandon's mood or criticism, that was a victory. 4 months after the assault, the divorce was finalized. Angela had fought hard, and Simone got a fair settlement. Half of their joint savings, which Brandon hadn't managed to hide. Her own car fully paid off. And most importantly, freedom from any of his debts. The credit cards he had opened in her name were his responsibility now. The day the divorce papers were finalized, Simone took herself out to dinner at a nice restaurant. She ordered an expensive bottle of wine and the lobster she had always wanted to try but Brandon said was too much money. She sat alone at her table, eating slowly, savoring every bite. She wasn't lonely. She was free. Her phone buzzed with a text from Monique. It's official? Yes. I'm a free woman. Celebrate big, sis. You earned it. Simone smiled and took another sip of wine. She had earned it. Every moment of planning, every day of playing pretend, every ounce of courage it took to walk away, it had all been worth it. Brandon had tried to break her, but she had broken free instead. Summer arrived, bringing longer days and a sense of renewal that Simone hadn't felt in years. 6 months had passed since that day at the Anderson estate, and her life looked completely different now. She had gotten a promotion at work, moving from accountant to senior financial analyst. Her boss had pulled her aside one day and told her that her attention to detail and dedication hadn't gone unnoticed. The raise that came with the promotion meant she could finally afford to buy some real furniture for her apartment instead of the second-hand pieces she had been using. But more than the money, Simone appreciated the recognition. For so long, Brandon had made her feel like her work didn't matter, like she wasn't successful or important. Hearing her boss praise her skills felt like validation of everything she had been through. One Saturday morning, Simone was walking through the downtown area when she passed by a community center. A colorful sign in the window advertised an art show happening that evening. Local artists were displaying their work, and there would be live music and refreshments. Simone had been taking painting classes for 3 months now, and her instructor kept encouraging her to look at other people's work for inspiration. On impulse, she decided to come back that evening. The art show was more crowded than she expected. People mingled around the gallery space, holding glasses of wine and discussing the pieces on the walls. Simone felt slightly out of place at first, but she reminded herself that she had every right to be there. She loved art now. She was an artist herself, even if she was still learning. She stopped in front of a series of photographs that caught her eye. They were black and white images of the city, empty streets at dawn, reflections in rain puddles, an old man feeding pigeons in the park. There was something lonely but beautiful about them. Do you like them? Simone turned to find a man standing beside her. He was tall, with brown skin a few shades lighter than hers, wearing glasses and a casual button-down shirt. His smile was friendly, not pushy. I do, she said. They're haunting in a good way. That's exactly what I was going for, he said, extending his hand. I'm Julian. I took these photos. Simone. They're really beautiful. How long have you been doing photography? About 10 years now. It started as a hobby, but it's become more than that. He gestured to the photos. These are from a series I call Quiet Moments. I like capturing the city when most people aren't looking. They talked for a while about his work, about the technical aspects of photography, about how he chose his subjects. Julian was easy to talk to, genuinely passionate about his art without being pretentious about it. Do you do any art yourself? He asked. I'm taking painting classes, Simone admitted. I'm not very good yet, but I enjoy it. That's what matters. If you enjoy it, keep doing it. Before the night ended, Julian asked if she wanted to grab coffee sometime to talk more about art. Simone hesitated for only a moment before saying yes. She wrote her number on a gallery card and he promised to text her. True to his word, Julian texted the next day. They met for coffee that Wednesday afternoon at a small shop near Simone's apartment. They talked for 2 hours and it felt effortless. He asked about her painting, about her work, about her life. And critically, he actually listened to her answers. Simone found herself laughing more than she had in years. Julian had a quiet sense of humor and a way of seeing the world that she appreciated. When they parted ways, she felt lighter somehow. Over the next few weeks, they met several more times. Sometimes for coffee, sometimes to visit galleries around the city, once to a photography exhibit at the museum. Julian never pushed for more than friendship, which Simone appreciated. She wasn't ready for anything complicated. One evening, they were sitting in a park watching the sunset when Julian asked, "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure. You seem like you're healing from something. You don't have to tell me what, but I just want you to know that I see it. And I respect whatever boundaries you need." Simone was quiet for a moment. She hadn't told Julian about Brandon or the divorce. She had kept those conversations focused on the present and future, not the past. "I got divorced recently," she said finally. "It wasn't a good marriage. I'm still figuring out who I am outside of that." Julian nodded. "That takes courage. Leaving something that isn't good for you, even when it's scary. Some days I feel brave. Other days I just feel tired. Both are valid." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sky turn orange and pink. Simone realized that this was what friendship should feel like: easy, supportive, without expectation or demand. At her painting class the following week, her instructor asked if anyone wanted to submit work for a student showcase happening next month. Simone immediately shook her head. She wasn't good enough for that. But after class, the instructor pulled her aside. "Simone, I really think you should consider it. Your work has improved so much and I think people would respond to it." "I don't know. Just think about it. You have a week to decide." That night, Simone looked at the paintings she had completed over the past few months. There were abstract pieces with bold colors. A landscape of the park near her apartment. A self-portrait that she had been scared to start but ended up loving. She texted Julian, "Do you think I should submit my paintings to a student showcase?" His response was immediate, "Absolutely yes. Why wouldn't you? What if people don't like them? What if they do? Besides, art isn't about everyone liking it. It's about expressing yourself. You deserve to be seen, Simone." The next morning, she brought 3 of her paintings to class and told her instructor she wanted to participate. The showcase would be in 3 weeks. Simone threw herself into preparation. She chose her best pieces, had them properly framed, and practiced what she would say if anyone asked about her work. Julian offered to take professional photos of her paintings for her portfolio, which touched her more than she expected. "You're a good friend," she told him one evening while he was photographing her work in her apartment. "So are you," he said, adjusting his camera angle. "I'm glad I met you, Simone." "Me too." The night of the showcase, Simone was terrified. What if no one looked at her work? What if they did and thought it was terrible? What if Brandon somehow found out and showed up to ruin it? But when she arrived at the gallery, Julian was already there waiting for her. He had dressed up for the occasion and brought her flowers. "For good luck," he said, handing them to her. "You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to." Throughout the evening, People stopped to look at her paintings. Some moved on quickly, but others stayed for a while. One woman asked detailed questions about her technique. A man asked if her pieces were for sale. "They are," Simone said, surprised. "I hadn't really thought about selling them." "Well, I'd like to buy this one," he said, pointing to her landscape. "It reminds me of early mornings with my grandmother." Simone sold 2 paintings that night. But more importantly, she felt proud. Proud of her work, proud of how far she had come, proud that she had been brave enough to show up at all. After the showcase ended, Julian walked her to her car. "You were amazing tonight," he said. "Thank you for being here. It meant a lot." "I wouldn't have missed it." There was a moment where they just looked at each other and Simone felt something shift. Not quite attraction yet, but the beginning of something. The possibility of more. But she wasn't ready, and somehow Julian understood that without her having to say it. "See you next week?" he asked. "Definitely." As Simone drove home, she realized that she was genuinely happy. Not happy despite everything that had happened with Brandon, but happy because of what she had built for herself. She had a job she enjoyed, friends who supported her, art that fulfilled her, and the freedom to make her own choices. Brandon had tried to keep her small and controlled, but she had grown beyond anything he could have imagined. And this was just the beginning. Fall arrived with cooler temperatures and changing leaves. Simone had been divorced for 8 months now, and she barely thought about Brandon anymore. When she did, it was with detachment, like remembering a bad movie she had watched years ago. Her friendship with Julian had deepened over the summer. They spent at least 1 evening a week together, sometimes more. They visited museums, tried new restaurants, took long walks through the city while Julian photographed interesting buildings and Simone sketched in her notebook. "You should start painting outside," Julian suggested one afternoon while they were walking through a park. "The natural light is so different from studio lighting. It would challenge you in a good way." "I'd be too self-conscious," Simone admitted. "Everyone watching me work. Most people are too wrapped up in their own lives to pay attention. And the ones who do watch are usually just curious or impressed. Give it a try. I'll come with you for moral support." The next weekend, they went to the park with Simone's portable easel and paints. She set up near a pond and tried to capture the way the water reflected the autumn trees. At first, she was hyper-aware of every person who walked past. But after a while, she got lost in the work and forgot to be self-conscious. Julian took photos of her painting, which he later showed her. "You look so focused in content," he said. "This is who you are." Simone looked at the photo. Her hair was pulled back in a scarf, her old jeans splattered with paint, completely absorbed in her canvas. She barely recognized herself, not because she looked different, but because she looked free. In October, her lawyer called with news about Brandon's fraud case. "He took a plea deal," Angela said. 2 years in prison followed by 3 years probation. He has to pay full restitution to his father's company plus fines. It's done. "How do you feel about that?" Angela asked. "Relieved," Simone said honestly. "I'm glad I don't have to testify again. I just want to move forward." "You've done that remarkably well. I'm proud of you, Simone." After hanging up, Simone called her sister with the news. 2 years isn't enough for what he did, Monique said. "But at least he's facing consequences." "That's all I needed," Simone said. "I don't need revenge anymore. I just needed to be free, and I am." At work, Simone was asked to lead a major project analyzing the financial efficiency of their nonprofit's programs. It was high profile and challenging, exactly the kind of opportunity she had wanted. She threw herself into the work, collaborating with different departments and presenting her findings to the board of directors. Her presentation was a success. The executive director pulled her aside afterward. "That was impressive work, Simone. Have you ever considered moving into a director-level position? We'll have an opening next year, and I think you'd be perfect for it." Simone felt a surge of pride. "I'd definitely be interested in discussing that." She celebrated that night with Julian at her favorite Italian restaurant. Over pasta and wine, she told him about the potential promotion. "That's amazing," he said, raising his glass. "You deserve all of this success. It feels surreal sometimes. A year ago, my life was falling apart. Now everything is coming together in ways I never expected." That's what happens when you're brave enough to choose yourself. They talked late into the evening, and when Julian walked her to her car, he hesitated before saying goodbye. "Simone, can I tell you something?" "Of course. I really enjoy spending time with you. More than I've enjoyed anyone's company in a long time. And I don't want to pressure you or make you uncomfortable, but I need you to know that my feelings for you have become more than friendship." Simone's heart skipped. She had known this moment was coming. She had felt the shift between them too. Julian, you don't have to say anything now, he interrupted gently. I know you're still healing. I know you need time. I'm not going anywhere. I just wanted to be honest with you. Simone looked at him, really looked at him. Julian, who had shown up to her art showcase with flowers, who encouraged her dreams without trying to control them, who listened when she talked and respected her boundaries, who made her laugh and think and feel safe. I have feelings for you too, she admitted, but I'm scared. My judgment was so wrong before. What if you're wrong again? Julian finished. That's a valid fear. But Simone, I'm not Brandon. I would never hurt you the way he did. And I'm willing to take this as slowly as you need to. What does that look like? Whatever you want it to look like. We can keep things exactly as they are. Or we can explore this carefully at your pace. I'm not going to rush you or push you into anything. Simone felt tears prick her eyes, but they were good tears. Okay, she whispered. Let's see where this goes. Slowly. Julian smiled and gently squeezed her hand. Slowly works for me. Over the next few weeks, their relationship shifted. Not dramatically, but subtly. Julian would hold her hand while they walked. They would sit closer together on the couch while watching movies. He would kiss her forehead when saying goodbye. It was sweet and careful and everything Simone needed. There was no pressure, no demands. Just two people choosing each other at a pace that felt right. In November, Simone's painting instructor asked if she would be interested in teaching a beginner's class starting in January. Me? Teach. Simone was shocked. You're a natural. You're patient, encouraging, and you've developed your own style. I think you'd be great at it. Simone agreed to think about it. That evening, she talked it over with Julian and Taylor, who had become good friends now that Simone wasn't isolated anymore. Of course you should do it, Taylor said. You love painting. What if I'm not good enough? Julian shook his head. You need to stop saying that. You're good enough. You've always been good enough. Brandon just spent years convincing you otherwise. He was right. Simone had spent so long being told she wasn't talented, wasn't smart enough, wasn't anything special. It had become her default belief about herself. But it wasn't true. She called her instructor the next day and accepted the teaching position. December brought the holidays, which Simone had been dreading. Last year at this time, she had been planning her escape, counting down the days until she could leave Brandon. The year before that, she had been miserable, pretending everything was fine while Brandon criticized everything from her cooking to her gift choices. This year was different. She spent Christmas with Monique, who had flown in for a week. They cooked together, watched movies, and stayed up late talking about everything and nothing. Julian came over on Christmas Eve with homemade cookies and a gift, a professional set of painting brushes. Julian, this is too much, Simone protested, but she was touched. You're worth it, he said simply. On New Year's Eve, Simone stood on Julian's apartment balcony watching fireworks over the city. He stood behind her, his arms wrapped around her waist, and she leaned back against him, feeling safe and content. This year is going to be even better, he whispered in her ear. I believe you, she said. And for the first time in years, she genuinely did. January came with fresh snow and new beginnings. Simone started teaching her beginner painting class at the community center. She had 8 students ranging from a nervous 18-year-old to a retired teacher in her 60s. Watching them discover their own creativity filled Simone with a joy she hadn't expected. You're a natural at this, Julian said after sitting in on one of her classes. The way you encourage people without being condescending, it's a gift. I just remember how scary it was when I started. I want them to feel safe making mistakes. Her relationship with Julian continued to grow. They had been dating for 3 months now, though they still hadn't defined exactly what they were. Simone appreciated that Julian never pushed for labels or commitments before she was ready. One evening in late January, Julian invited her to a gallery opening where his photographs were being featured. It was a bigger deal than the community show where they had met, a professional gallery in the downtown arts district. Simone bought a new dress for the occasion, a deep burgundy that made her brown skin glow. When Julian picked her up, the look on his face made her blush. You're beautiful, he said simply. Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself. The gallery was packed with people. Julian's photographs lined 2 entire walls, his Quiet Moments series plus some new work that Simone hadn't seen before. These were portraits of everyday people caught in unguarded moments. A woman laughing at a bus stop. A man reading in a coffee shop. An elderly couple holding hands in the park. These are incredible, Simone breathed, studying each one. They're about connection, Julian explained, standing beside her. About the beauty in ordinary moments when people forget to perform for the camera. A critic from the local arts magazine approached them, asking Julian questions about his process and inspiration. Simone stepped back to give them space, but Julian pulled her forward. This is Simone. She's a painter and teacher. Her perspective on art has influenced a lot of my recent work. The critic asked Simone a few questions about her own art, and they talked for several minutes before moving on to speak with other artists. You didn't have to do that, Simone said after the critic left. Do what? Include me like that. This is your night. Julian took her hand. Simone, you're part of my life. I want you there, not just physically but in every way. You matter to me. Something shifted in Simone's chest. She had been so focused on protecting herself, on taking things slowly, that she hadn't fully acknowledged how much Julian had come to mean to her. Later that night, after the gallery opening, they went back to Julian's apartment. They sat on his couch with mugs of tea, and Simone found herself studying his face in the lamplight. What are you thinking? Julian asked softly. I'm thinking that I'm falling for you, she admitted. And it scares me. Why? Because the last time I fell for someone, I ended up spending 7 years in a relationship that nearly destroyed me. What if I'm making the same mistake? Julian set down his mug and turned to face her fully. Simone, look at me. Do I make you feel small? No. Do I criticize your dreams or tell you your interests don't matter? No. Do I try to control who you spend time with or how you spend your money or what you wear? No. You're nothing like him. Exactly. I'm not Brandon. And you're not the same person you were when you met him. You're stronger now. You know what you deserve. And if I ever treat you with anything less than respect and care, I trust you to walk away. Simone felt tears slide down her cheeks. I don't want to be afraid anymore. Julian wiped her tears gently with his thumb. Then don't be. Trust yourself. Trust me. Trust that this is different. Okay, she whispered. He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. But she didn't. She met him halfway, and when their lips touched, it felt like coming home. The kiss was gentle and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Julian rested his forehead against hers. I love you, Simone. I have for a while now. You don't have to say it back. I love you too, she interrupted, and saying it felt like freedom. They stayed up late that night, talking about their pasts and their hopes for the future. Julian told her about his last relationship that had ended 3 years ago, about the work he had done on himself since then. Simone told him more details about her. He made me feel worthless, she said. Every day, in 1,000 small ways, he chipped away at my confidence until I couldn't remember who I used to be. But you found yourself again, Julian said. That takes incredible strength. Some days I still feel broken. You're not broken. You're healing. There's a difference. Over the next few weeks, Simone felt lighter than she had in years. She was in love with a man who actually loved her back, who supported her dreams instead of crushing them, who made her feel beautiful and smart and valued. Her art was improving rapidly. She sold 3 more paintings through a local gallery that had agreed to display her work. Her painting classes were so popular that the community center asked her to teach a second session. At work, she was officially offered the director position she had been hoping for. It would start in 6 months, giving her time to transition and train her replacement. Everything was falling into place. In early March, Dorothy called Simone. They hadn't spoken in several weeks. I wanted you to hear this from me, Dorothy said. Brandon is being released early for good behavior. He'll be out next month. Simone felt her stomach drop, but not from fear. Just from the unpleasantness of knowing he would be back in the world. Okay. Thank you for telling me. He has to stay away from you. The restraining order is still active. And honestly, Simone, I don't think he'll bother you. He knows he messed up his entire life. His father won't let him back in the business. Most of his friends have abandoned him. I think he's just trying to figure out how to survive. I hope he gets the help he needs, Simone said, and she meant it. But I don't want any part of his life. I understand. I just wanted to make sure you knew. After they hung up, Simone called Julian and told him about Brandon's upcoming release. How do you feel? He asked. Honestly, I don't feel much of anything. He's not my problem anymore. I've moved on. Do you want me to come over? No, I'm okay. I'll see you tomorrow for our museum date. But that night, alone in her apartment, Simone did think about Brandon. Not with anger or pain, but with a sort of distant pity. He had everything: a wife who loved him, a good job, a family that supported him. and he threw it all away for affairs and fraud and violence. Meanwhile, she had nothing when she left him. No money, no apartment, no safety net except her own determination. And she had built a life that was better than anything she could have imagined. She had won. Not by destroying him, he had done that himself. She had won by choosing herself, by refusing to stay small, by building something beautiful from the ashes of her old life. Whatever Brandon did with his second chance was his business. Simone was focused on her own future, and it was bright. Brandon was released from prison on April 15th. Simone knew because Dorothy called to tell her, though she had already marked the date on her calendar. Just in case. The first week passed without incident. Then the second week. Simone started to relax, thinking maybe Brandon had actually learned something from his time in prison. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, Natalie showed up at Simone's workplace. Simone was leaving for lunch when she saw her standing in the parking lot. Natalie looked terrible. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, her clothes were wrinkled, and she had dark circles under her eyes. She looked desperate. "Simone, please, I just need to talk to you," Natalie called out. Simone kept walking toward her car, keys in hand. "We have nothing to discuss. Please. Just 5 minutes. I need your help." Simone stopped and turned around. "My help? Are you serious right now? I know what I did was wrong. I know I hurt you. But I've lost everything. My kids, my career, my marriage. Brandon is out now and he's been contacting me and I'm scared." "Stop," Simone said firmly. "I don't care what Brandon is doing. I don't care what happens to you. You made your choices and now you're living with the consequences. That's not my problem. But you understand what he's like. You know how manipulative he can be. Then call the police. Get a restraining order. Ask his mother for help. I don't care what you do, but leave me alone." Simone got into her car. Natalie grabbed the door before she could close it. "Please, I'm begging you. Let go of my door or I'm calling security." Natalie stepped back, tears streaming down her face. Simone closed the door, locked it, and drove away. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear. From anger that Natalie had the nerve to show up at her job, to ask for help after everything she had done. When Simone got to the restaurant where she was meeting Taylor for lunch, she told her friend what happened. "The audacity," Taylor said, shaking her head. "After she slept with your husband, she wants you to help her?" "Absolutely not." "I felt guilty for a second," Simone admitted. "What if he actually hurts her? That's not your responsibility. She can call the police like anyone else. You don't owe her anything, Simone. Not sympathy, not help, nothing." Taylor was right. Simone had spent enough of her life taking care of other people's problems. Natalie and Brandon had destroyed each other's lives together. They could figure out how to deal with the aftermath together without involving her. That evening, Simone filed a police report about Natalie showing up at her workplace. The officer who took her statement was sympathetic. "Given your history with her and your ex-husband, we can help you get a restraining order against her too if she contacts you again," he said. "Yes, please." The restraining order was approved within a week. Simone felt safer knowing that legally both Brandon and Natalie had to stay away from her. A few days later, Dorothy called again. "I heard about Natalie showing up at your work," she said. "I'm so sorry. I've also heard that Brandon has been trying to contact you through fake social media accounts." "I haven't seen anything," Simone said. "I blocked everything related to him a long time ago." "Good. Simone, I want you to know something. His father and we're cutting him off. Completely. He's had every chance to change, and he refuses to take responsibility for his actions. He's been blaming you for everything that happened, saying you ruined his life. Of course he is. We've told him that until he gets serious about therapy and making real changes, we can't support him. We enabled him for too long. We're not doing that anymore. Thank you for telling me. And Dorothy? I appreciate that you've apologized and tried to make things right. But I need you to understand that I can't have a relationship with you or your family. Brandon will always be your son. I need distance from anything connected to him." There was silence on the line for a moment. "I understand," Dorothy said finally. "I hope you have a wonderful life, Simone. You deserve it. You too." They hung up and Simone felt a weight lift. She had closure now, real closure. No more phone calls, no more updates about Brandon's life, no more connections to that part of her past. She told Julian about the conversation that evening while they were cooking dinner together in her apartment. "How do you feel?" he asked, chopping vegetables while she stirred sauce on the stove. "Relieved. It's really over now. No more ties to that family or that life." Julian set down his knife and came over to wrap his arms around her from behind. I'm proud of you. You've handled all of this with so much grace. I don't know about grace. I just want to move forward. That's exactly what you're doing. In May, Simone was offered an opportunity to show her work at a group exhibition at a respected gallery downtown. It was a big step up from the community shows and small galleries she had been working with. The exhibition would run for a month, and there would be a special opening night with critics and collectors. She accepted immediately. Over the next few weeks, she worked on new pieces specifically for the show. Julian helped her photograph her work for the catalog and supported her through moments of self-doubt. "What if my work isn't good enough to be in a real gallery?" she asked him one night. "It is good enough. You're good enough. When are you going to start believing that?" "I'm trying." "Try harder," he said gently, kissing her forehead. "You're talented, Simone. Let yourself believe it." The opening night in early June was magical. Simone wore a stunning gold dress that Taylor had helped her pick out. Her sister flew in for the event. Her painting students came to support her. And Julian was by her side the entire evening, proud and supportive. Several of her pieces sold that night. A critic from the arts magazine wrote a glowing review about her use of color and emotion. People asked if she had a website, if she took commissions, if she would be showing anywhere else. Standing in the gallery surrounded by her work and the people she loved, Simone felt a completeness she had never experienced before. This was success. Not the kind Brandon had always talked about, money and status and impressing people. But real success. Creating something meaningful. Being surrounded by people who truly cared about her. Living a life that felt authentic and joyful. She had survived. More than that, she had thrived. And no one, not Brandon, not Natalie, not anyone, could take that away from her. 1 year. It had been exactly 1 year since Simone stood in the Andersons' backyard with blood on her lip and told everyone to check their phones. 1 year since her life had blown apart and then been rebuilt, piece by piece, into something better than she could have imagined. To mark the occasion, Simone decided to do something meaningful. She organized a solo exhibition of her work at the same gallery that had shown her pieces in the group show. The owner had been so impressed with her sales and the response to her work that she offered Simone an entire room for a month-long solo exhibition. The theme was rebirth. Every piece Simone created for this show reflected different stages of her journey. There was a dark, chaotic abstract piece called Breaking Point that represented that day at the party. A series of smaller canvases called Healing that showed progression from dark colors to brighter ones. And her centerpiece, a large painting called Rising, that depicted a woman made of light and color, powerful and free. Julian had been documenting her process through photographs. He was putting together his own exhibition called Transformation that featured photos of Simone working on her pieces. With her permission, it would show at the same time in the gallery's second room. "We're a team now," he said when he proposed the idea. "Your art inspires my art. Let's show the world what that looks like." The week before the opening, Simone was featured in the local arts magazine. The interviewer asked about her inspiration for the Rebirth series. "I went through a difficult period in my life," Simone explained carefully. "I was in a relationship that made me forget who I was. Leaving that situation and rediscovering myself. That journey is what this work represents. It's about finding strength you didn't know you had." The article came out 3 days before the opening. Simone's phone exploded with messages from people she hadn't heard from in years. Former co-workers, college friends, even her high school art teacher reached out to say how proud they were. Taylor called her, crying. "Girl, I just read the article. I'm so proud of you. Look at how far you've come." "I couldn't have done it without you," Simone said honestly. "You never gave up on me even when I pushed you away. That's what friends do." The night before the opening, Simone couldn't sleep. She lay in bed running through everything that could go wrong. What if no one showed up? What if people hated her work? What if Brandon somehow found out and tried to ruin it? She got up and made tea, sitting by her window watching the city lights. Julian had wanted to stay over, but she told him she needed this night alone. To reflect. To prepare. To make peace with everything that had brought her to this moment. Her phone buzzed with a text from Monique, "Landing tomorrow at 2 p.m. Can't wait to see the show, sis. Mom would be so proud." Simone felt tears prick her eyes. Her mother had always encouraged her artistic side, buying her art supplies even when money was tight, praising every drawing she brought home from school. She wished her mother could see this, could see how Simone had found her way back to art after so many years of being told it didn't matter. The opening was scheduled for 6 in the evening. Simone arrived at 4 to do a final walkthrough. The gallery owner had hung everything perfectly, with professional lighting that made her colors pop. Julian's photographs lined the walls of the adjacent room. Simone walked through slowly, seeing herself through his eyes. In his photos, she looked strong and focused, creative and beautiful. Nothing like the small, scared woman she had been a year ago. Nervous? Julian appeared beside her. Terrified. You're going to be amazing. He took her hand. This is your night, Simone. Enjoy it. People started arriving at 6:15. First her painting students, excited to see their teacher's work displayed professionally. Then Taylor with a group of friends. Monique arrived with flowers. Dr. Campbell, her therapist, came to show support. Co-workers from her nonprofit came straight from the office. By 7, the gallery was packed. Simone moved through the crowd, answering questions about her pieces, accepting compliments, watching people study her work with genuine interest. A collector bought 3 of her paintings. Another asked about commissioning a piece. The owner of another gallery gave Simone her card and asked about future shows. But the most meaningful moment came when an older black woman stood in front of Rising for a long time. When Simone approached her, the woman turned with tears in her eyes. I left my husband after 30 years, the woman said quietly. Everyone told me I was too old to start over, that I should just accept things as they were. But I didn't. Seeing this painting, seeing what you've created, it reminds me that I made the right choice. Thank you. Simone hugged the stranger, both of them crying. Thank you for being brave enough to leave, Simone whispered. As the evening wore on, Simone found herself surrounded by love. Her sister brought her champagne and told embarrassing childhood stories to Julian. Her students told her how much her class had meant to them. Even Dorothy sent flowers with a card that simply said, "Proud of you." Near the end of the night, the arts magazine critic approached Simone. I'd like to do a follow-up piece, she said, about your journey with your permission. I think your story could inspire a lot of people. Simone thought about it for a moment. A year ago, she would have said no, wanting to hide from attention and judgment. But she wasn't that person anymore. Yes, she said. I'd like that. After the gallery closed, a small group went out to celebrate. Julian, Monique, Taylor, and a few of Simone's painting students sat around a table at a restaurant, laughing and talking. Simone looked around at these people, her chosen family, and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. Speech, Taylor demanded, raising her glass. Simone stood up, suddenly emotional. A year ago, I thought my life was over. I thought the best parts of me had been destroyed. But you all, every single one of you, helped me see that I was wrong. I wasn't destroyed. I was just buried. And with your support, I found my way back to the surface. Thank you for believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself. They toasted, and Simone sat back down, Julian's arm around her shoulders. I love you, he whispered in her ear. I love you too. Later that night, back in her apartment, Simone stood in front of her bathroom mirror just like she had done a year ago. But this time, there was no bruise on her face. No blood on her lip. Just a woman who had survived and thrived, who had taken her pain and turned it into art, who had refused to let her worst experience define her. She smiled at her reflection. She had done it. She had really done it. Tomorrow she would start work on new pieces. She would continue teaching her classes. She would keep building her relationship with Julian and strengthening her friendships. She would step into her new director role at work and keep pushing herself to grow. But tonight, she would sleep peacefully, knowing that she had won. Not by destroying Brandon or getting revenge on Natalie, but by refusing to let them steal her joy, her creativity, or her future. She had won by choosing herself. And that was the sweetest victory of all. 2 years had passed since that day at the Anderson estate. 24 months of growth, healing, and transformation. Simone barely remembered the woman she had been back then, the one who walked on eggshells, who made herself small, who believed she deserved to be treated poorly. It was a Saturday morning in October, unseasonably warm and beautiful. Simone was meeting Julian for coffee before they headed to set up for her second solo exhibition. This one was at an even more prestigious gallery, and she had pieces that would be shipped to a gallery in New York next month. She pulled into the parking lot of their favorite coffee shop downtown, the one with the big windows and the good espresso. As she was getting out of her car, she noticed someone familiar across the street. Brandon. He was coming out of a discount store, carrying a bag, wearing clothes that looked worn and cheap. He had lost weight, his face looked tired, and there was a slump to his shoulders that she had never seen before. For a moment they made eye contact. Brandon froze, and Simone saw a flash of something cross his face. Shame, maybe, or regret. He looked like he wanted to say something, but Simone just stood there, calm and unmoved. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't angry. She didn't feel anything except a mild curiosity about how much he had changed. Brandon looked away first, ducking his head and walking quickly in the opposite direction. He didn't approach her, didn't try to speak, just disappeared around the corner like a ghost from a past life. Simone watched him go and felt nothing. No satisfaction at seeing how far he had fallen. No pity for what he had lost. He was just a stranger now, someone she used to know in another lifetime. "Hey, beautiful." She turned to find Julian walking toward her from his car, coffee carrier in hand. He had picked up their drinks already, knowing exactly how she liked hers. "Hey yourself," she said, accepting the coffee and a kiss. "You okay? You look a little distracted." "I just saw Brandon across the street." Julian tensed slightly. "Did he bother you?" "No. He saw me and walked away. It was nothing." "He's nothing." Julian studied her face carefully. "How do you feel?" "Grateful," Simone said honestly. "Grateful that I got away. Grateful for everything I have now. Grateful that I'm not stuck in that life anymore." They walked into the coffee shop and found their usual table by the window. Simone told Julian about the final piece she had completed last night for the exhibition. A vibrant, joyful painting called Joy that featured bright colors and dynamic movement. "It's my favorite thing I've ever created," she said. "It represents where I am now. Finally happy. Finally free." "I can't wait to see it," Julian said. "Actually, I have something I want to show you too." He pulled out his phone and showed her photos of a storefront space in the arts district. "What's this?" Simone asked. "A potential studio space. It's big enough for both of us. I've been thinking about how we're both working from home, but we could really use dedicated creative spaces. What if we got this together? Your painting area, my photography studio." Simone looked at the photos, her heart swelling. They talked about the logistics, the cost, how they would set it up. It felt right. They had been dating for almost 2 years now, and their lives had naturally intertwined. They stayed at each other's apartments most nights. They collaborated on projects. They supported each other's dreams. "I think we should do it," Simone decided. "Let's look at it tomorrow after the opening." That evening, the gallery was packed for Simone's second solo exhibition. This one was called Joy, and every piece reflected the happiness and freedom she had found over the past 2 years. Bright colors, dynamic compositions, subjects that celebrated life and beauty and strength. The executive director from her nonprofit came and bought a painting for their office. 3 pieces sold in the first hour. A writer from a national arts publication interviewed her about her work and her journey. Simone moved through the crowd feeling confident and proud. She wore a beautiful dress that she had chosen herself, her natural hair styled in an elegant updo, her makeup perfect. She looked like the successful artist she had become. Halfway through the evening, Monique pulled her aside. "Sis, I have to tell you something. I'm moving here." "What? Really?" "My company is opening a branch office in the city, and they asked me to run it. I'll be here by January. We'll finally live in the same place again." Simone hugged her sister tightly, overwhelmed with happiness. Everything was coming together in ways she never could have planned. Near the end of the evening, Julian asked for everyone's attention. "I just want to say a few words about the artist," he announced, and Simone felt herself blushing. 2 years ago, I met Simone at a community art show. I was immediately struck by her talent, but more than that, by her spirit. She was rebuilding her life, rediscovering who she was, and choosing to pursue her dreams despite everything she had been through. Watching her grow into the artist and person she is today has been the greatest privilege of my life. He turned to look directly at Simone. "You inspire me every single day. Your strength, your creativity, your kindness, everything about you amazes me. I love you, Simone." "I love you too," she said, her eyes filling with happy tears. The crowd applauded, and Simone kissed Julian, not caring that everyone was watching. Let them see. Let them know that this was real love, healthy love, the kind that built you up instead of tearing you down. After the gallery closed, Julian and Simone walked along the riverside, hand in hand. The city lights reflected on the water, and the air was cool and perfect. "Can I ask you something?" Julian said. "Always. Do you ever regret how things ended with Brandon? Do you ever wish you had handled it differently?" Simone thought about it carefully. "No," she said finally. "I did what I needed to do to survive and escape. Was it dramatic? Yes, but it worked. And more importantly, it gave me closure. I exposed the truth, and then I walked away and built something beautiful." "You really have." Julian said. Built something beautiful, I mean. Your art, your career, your life, it's all incredible. Our life, Simone corrected. You're part of this too. They stopped walking and Julian turned to face her. About that. Simone, I know we've talked about the studio space, but I want to talk about something bigger. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to build a life with you, not just as partners in art, but as partners in everything. Simone's heart was racing. Are you asking me to move in with you? I'm asking if we can find a place together. A home. Ours. 2 years ago, the idea of living with someone, of trusting someone with that much of her life, would have terrified Simone. But Julian had proven himself over and over again. He respected her boundaries. He supported her dreams. He loved her without trying to control her. Yes, she said, smiling widely. Let's find a home together. Julian picked her up and spun her around, both of them laughing. When he set her down, he kissed her deeply, and Simone felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. 3 months later, they moved into a beautiful apartment with high ceilings and lots of natural light. The studio space in the arts district became their creative sanctuary. Monique moved to the city and they had dinner together every week. Simone's art career continued to flourish, with shows in multiple galleries and commissions from collectors. She was even asked to teach a workshop at the local university. At work, she thrived in her director position, implementing new programs and securing major grants for the nonprofit. She mentored younger staff members, remembering how important it had been to have people believe in her. One evening in early spring, almost 3 years after everything had fallen apart and come back together, Simone and Julian hosted a dinner party in their apartment. Taylor was there with her new girlfriend. Monique brought a date. Several of Simone's art students came, along with Julian's photography colleagues. Standing in her kitchen, surrounded by laughter and conversation, preparing food she actually enjoyed, wearing clothes she had chosen, living in a home that reflected her taste, Simone felt a completeness that made her want to cry. Julian appeared beside her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Happy? He asked. So happy, she said. Sometimes I can't believe this is my life. Believe it? You earned every bit of it. After everyone left that night, Simone and Julian cleaned up together, working in comfortable silence. When they finished, they stood on their balcony looking out at the city lights. Do you know what today is? Simone asked. Should I? 3 years ago today, I found Brandon's secret phone. 3 years ago, I started planning my escape. Julian pulled her closer. Best decision you ever made. No, Simone corrected, resting her head on his shoulder. The best decision I ever made was choosing myself. Leaving him was just the first step. Everything that came after, pursuing my art, rebuilding my life, letting myself love again, those were all choices I made because I finally believed I deserved good things. You deserve everything good, Julian said, kissing the top of her head. They stood there for a long time, holding each other under the stars. Simone thought about the woman she used to be, scared, small, trapped. Then she thought about the woman she had become, confident, creative, free. She had survived. She had healed. She had thrived. And she had done it all by refusing to let anyone else write her story. Brandon was somewhere in the city, living with the consequences of his choices. Natalie was somewhere dealing with hers. But Simone didn't think about them anymore. They were characters from a book she had finished reading long ago. Her story now was about joy, about love, about art, about building a life so beautiful that the past couldn't touch it. She had won. Not through revenge or bitterness, but through the simple act of choosing happiness every single day. And that, Simone thought as Julian led her back inside to their warm, loving home,